Okay.
That's it. Thank you very much. Yeah, there's still some technical stuff I need to work out. Jeez. My old computer was dying on me, and I had to get this one, which took a while because the one that was supposed to be sent got sent to the wrong address, but it was also the wrong package. Yeah, you don't want to know. Anyway, that all got sorted out eventually. But now I've got to be able to move all the information over, which I thought I had done, and apparently I have not. So
Mm,
always a fun thing to do.
yeah, not an
Uh,
easy task.
the the last thing I want to talk about with everybody is the idea of trying to change the stress, not stress, how we talk about people who are unhoused. And I'll get into that. I think the way it's talked about is really important, and I'll bring up some things that I've run into that you might find interesting or illuminating anyway. Anyway, so let's see. It is almost 10 minutes after. Anybody else have anything they want to add to the agenda or tell me is screwed and we don't want to do it? Just asking. You never
Um,
know. No? Okay.
we just got the link to the movie, the YouTube
Oh,
video.
good.
I just started watching it, but it looks like it's going to be interesting. It's
It's
5 years ago.
yeah, but it's interesting. But we'll get into that. Okay, so COVID updates. Uh, you may have heard that the CDC is trying to play things down, and I think that's partly medical, but also partly economic. I think they're getting a lot of push from people that want to open things up. Um, because uh, we're getting the BA4 and BA5 variants, which are even more contagious than the Omicron, but also don't seem to be causing as much morbidity and mortality. There's some words that we should use more often. Um,
Fun.
as the original ones did, it's just not causing as much worry. And I respect that, but it's for people who have sensitivities to what's going on, it's still a big deal. And although we are kind of out of the vaccine business, if the opportunity arises that we have the ability to get some grant money to put some more posters out and stuff, I think it would be a great idea. So just kind of keep an eye out for that because I think encouraging more people to get vaccinated and the vaccines are going to change. Um, uh, at the very least, it's going to have some Omicron stuff in it next time. And there's some movement afoot to actually get the BA4 and BA5 variants in there too. Long term, and I mean like in a year or two, there's a lot of movement afoot to actually get something that will cover any virus of that type. Not necessarily coronavirus, which would actually cover cold viruses as well. Although there's some talk about that. But you know, any of the COVID family, of which the original one was SARS, and then there was MERS, and this is SARS 2. So severe uh, acute respiratory virus. I mean, the first one was just killing people like flies. So there's a lot of strongly. They've got like 5 different ways that they're coming up with something that's supposed to cover everything. So it's in the wings, but they're seriously working on it. But the discussion right now is should people just get more boosters or should they wait for the next one?
Mhm.
And I think it depends a lot on how sensitive people are, because if they have a lot of comorbidities, then they just need to do whatever they can as soon as they can. There is a certain amount of time they're supposed to wait between them, and I don't know what that is currently, but I will find out and post it. But certainly making sure everybody has the two original ones if they're getting the mRNA disease or vaccine, the two original ones and then the two boosters at least. And then further than that, they're talking about doing more in the fall. Kind of like a lot of people had discussed, like with the flu vaccines and stuff like that. So that's where we are with it at the moment. Be careful when they try to boost their economic status by people's health. They are, as the CDC, however, is still recommending if you go indoors, wear a damn mask. So that's at least being consistent. Or if you're in someplace outdoors that's crowded, they're still recommending masking, but they're only recommending. They're not doing anything to try to make anybody do anything. Yeah, Stephen, what's up?
Yeah, I've heard from local businesses, restaurants and stores, that there was very little boost of business from the track and field. And I'm wondering if that's because there was very little mingling of the track and field people with the general population. I have not seen any uptick in the numbers since track and field happened. Are you seeing that at the macro level, that there's no big wave of infections that resulted from the track and field event?
No, we haven't seen a large uptick in the infections. I'll tell you what, though, that's related, kind of, which is you'll notice that this year there are no cooling centers.
Oh,
And all the money went into track and field. So, I've been talking to my boss about it. I'm going, like, people are dying in Oregon because there's no cooling centers. She's going, yeah, I know, but it's not anything I can control. So, yeah, it's a thing. That was a big thing for business, and the business didn't get that much. But what didn't happen was we didn't get any cooling centers. So, I think that's an interesting thing that would be useful to document the next time they try to promote some big sporting event, saying, oh, we're going to make a bunch of money off of this. Yeah, no, not so much, but you may well make it more difficult for other people just to stay alive. So yeah, it's a thing.
I'm active with 350 PBX, and one of our campaigns is shade equity. And
That's a good one.
The difference in the temperature in different parts of Portland is quite dramatic. In Eugene, we have less of a shade equity issue because the Whittaker's one of the lowest income areas and one of a very reasonable canopy percent. And Eugene is kind of the model that other cities are looking at for how to do shade equity.
Good. That's encouraging. Shade's good, especially when it's really hot. Oh yeah, go ahead, Doriandra.
I got the most interesting email the other day that I'm going to follow up on. I mean, it's kind of a weird catch-22, but the state of Oregon is doing an air conditioner program.
Yes, please do. Yes, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, it's trying to find it here in my best.
Actually, the money originally came from the CDC, I believe, and then it kind of trickled down to the OHA and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a big thing. That is,
yeah.
Glad you brought that up. That kind of slipped my mind, and it shouldn't. Yeah,
I'll try to get that sorted, and then I was brainstorming today. Well, how could we put that into our housing grant? But maybe we'll just do a side project if we can get them and then distribute them using like the CBO umbrella that we did clinics before. So
sure. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, because that's another reason people actually need housing, because it's really difficult to air condition a tent or a sleeping bag.
The city of Portland focused very much on the people living on the street. They neglected people that were in homes that weren't air conditioned, and almost every single mortality during the heat dome last year in Portland was from people who had a place to live, but it just wasn't air conditioned, or
Right.
they couldn't handle keeping their living space cool.
Right. Yeah, because if it's done poorly, it turns into a solar oven.
Yep.
Which is not exactly helpful.
Yep.
So there's other things that can go along with that, like making sure that people have the insulation that's necessary, or insulated window coverings, and places where the heat would get in. On top of that, and maybe perhaps we can look into teaming up with eWeb and seeing if there's ways to help distribute information about what things are actually available, especially to people who rent, because that's a big problem.
And these are often people who don't have any tax liability, so the tax rebates,
Yeah,
since they're non-refundable, don't
right.
do them any good at all.
And absolutely, absolutely. That's an excellent point. Okay. I'm taking some notes about that. Thank you. Okay, monkeypox. Woo!
Ooh.
Everybody's favorite
Mhm.
pox.
Ugh.
So you might have heard we have our first child with monkeypox in Oregon. So, yay. No,
Bummer.
not really. But it's inevitable. I mean, whenever you start seeing any of these things, you know there's a lot more of it around than you're actually seeing, always.
Where is that case?
I think it's up in Portland, but I'm not really
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Uh, couple of things about it. Of course, you know, they've changed the way they're doing the vaccines. That's very important to understand. The vaccines were given in the same way that they used to give the varicella vaccines and the MMR vaccines. It was not intramuscular, which was in the deltoid. It was subcutaneous, which is kind of back behind in the tricep area at an angle, and you don't really go all the way into the muscle. This one's even weirder, but it's pretty understandable to me because it's the same way that I do tuberculosis tests. It's called intradermal. And what you do is you end up putting it on the inside surface of the arm here very shallowly, because that's where you can get the most bang for your buck for the vaccine. They've done it in a couple of different types before, and it's been very effective. And the thing is, when we've had so little vaccine, we're able to, one vial that has 0.5 milliliters can be broken up into 5 vaccines this way. So you get a lot more out of it. So that's where things are going, and people should know about that and not feel that they're not getting the best. It works just as well, if not better, as the subcutaneous ones did. So it's just a technique that the reason they don't do it as much is that it's not as usual, and so you don't have as many people trained at it, but it doesn't take long to train them up. It's real simple. Like I said, it's the same way that we do tuberculosis tests. So a lot of people are very familiar with it, and it doesn't take long to learn. So it will work very well. So that's an important part for people to know about. The other thing is there is, although we know that monkeypox is really hard to transmit, you have to have real close contact for a period of time. It doesn't just, you know, spread around in the air like COVID did. And mostly it's when people are really intimate, you know, rubbing up against each other. But there is some look to see if it's even more transmittable through bodily fluids. We don't have all the details on that one yet, but there is research looking into it. So it's something we're kind of keeping an eye on. So that's another thing too. So another reason to definitely make sure you wear those condoms. So that's really about all I have with those two things. Do you have any questions? Yes, Durandra.
I do. How did you fare with being the first person that got the first monkeypox virus? Vaccine? How'd you feel?
It was fine.
Mhm.
Vaccines in general have never really bothered me.
Mhm.
And this one didn't either. I didn't grow hair in unusual places. Um, so no, I didn't have a strong desire for bananas.
Okay,
I'm
good.
good.
Okay. And then the second one is how are we doing in Lake County with these cases? Do we have a lot here right now, or?
It's in the teens and of course going up. But that's all public.
Mhm.
Um, um, yeah, we now have a couple of female people.
Mhm.
So it's not exclusively male anymore.
Yeah,
So that's just, you know, things can start off in one population and eventually just branches out to everybody, because, you know,
yeah.
eventually, was it 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or something? The
Oh,
everybody's everybody's related to everybody sooner or later.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, uh, that's how diseases spread, is by saying, oh, it's only in those people. We don't care about them.
right.
We won't bother with it. It's like it was going on in Africa for God knows how long, and nobody was considering the fact that sooner or later it's going to get here too. But
Yeah.
yeah, we don't care because we don't care about them.
Yeah.
So that's the attitude that really makes it difficult. But so yeah, that's things are things are heading to our neighborhood undoubtedly. So letting people know about what's going on as soon as possible is a good thing. So another thing that would be good to be able to do billboards about and stuff like that is trying to educate the public about what's going on with this too. Because yeah, it's not as deadly, but I got to tell you, it from what I've seen, yeah, it hurts lots. And it's not a good thing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it seemed alarming that some of the prevailing conversation about it was that it was so limited to gay men, and that's such a harmful thing to because you're right, that us and them thing is so devastating. That's repeating some of the horrible behaviors that happened at the onset of the AIDS crisis.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and anything that anybody gets, sooner or later, everybody's going to get, unless they actually make a point of making sure they don't. So just ignoring it is not going to have it go away.
Before we
Anyway.
leave the update on diseases, do we know what the unvaccinated percentage of people in Lane County for polio is?
I do not have that on me, but I can find out. The one thing I do know is not about Lane County. It's not even about Oregon. It's about the United States as a whole, and it isn't even really about vaccines. It's about people who have some type of immunity, which is either the vaccine or they've already had the disease, some combination of those things. So the CDC is now saying about 90% of the population has either had the vaccine or had an exposure to the disease. So they're considering that maybe not quite what you would consider herd immunity. Not quite, but they're kind of trying to insinuate that that's where they're going with that.
Yeah.
So I still think we need more of the vaccines myself, and there's still a big push, like I said, to change the formula so that it covers more of the variations and eventually cover all of them. So we'll see where that goes.
Good thinking.
Yeah. Anything else?
Do you think that's going to just kind of rise up and become a massive crisis again? I mean, they're finding it in the wastewater in New York, and
I know.
I mean,
well, and they're finding polio too. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, what's happening? Are we just seeing a strange resurgence of things based on or weakened immunity and the crisis that's left over from pandemia, or what's
one of the issues is worldwide warfare and unrest means that a lot of polio campaigns are not being able to take place, largely because they're lacking the infrastructure, or because things or the polio workers are being targeted as foreign agents. And then you've only got to have a few people travel from those parts of the world back home, and you get the first case, which was the New York case, somebody who came back from somewhere where it's starting to recur.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. But then, of course, on top of that, you've got all the local anti-vaxxers who are making it so that people are vulnerable to it when it does arrive. Yeah. So you've got those two things going on. You've got the conflict areas where people on different sides of the conflict don't want their adversaries getting vaccinated, right? So they are in fact targeting the vaccinators because they don't want the people who they are fighting to actually stay healthy. So that helps a lot. And then they come here, and of course you've got people like Robert F. Kennedy, who actually was saying after he found out about the polio in New York, actually said, "Oh, it's a benefit from COVID because people didn't get vaccinated." Because that was the other thing is because of COVID, a lot of people did not, even those who wanted to get vaccinated, a lot of them weren't getting vaccinated just because they weren't doing their regular, like, well child visits and stuff like that. So they didn't get the normal vaccines even when they wanted to. So there's some backup that way, and we do have some of that here. So yeah, it's a combination of things for sure. And I think we need more actual vaccine campaigns. So if we have more ability to do any more of that, that wouldn't be a bad thing. There's got to be some way to counter that stuff because, I mean, I know showing old pictures of people in iron lungs, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty dramatic.
Mhm.
Hey, feel nostalgic? Want to be like it was in the 50s? Yeah, no, not really.
The good old days.
The good old days. That's right. That's right. The good old days when we had a president who couldn't walk, but on the other hand, helped everybody else more than pretty much anybody else ever did. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll make them a little bit more sensitive to everybody. Okay, so Seneca Sawmill. Stephen, did you get a chance to read what I wrote?
I did, yeah, and I agree 100%. The big issues, the big emissions are from the cogeneration plant, which
Right.
we already commented on.
Right.
It's a tremendous increase in production of doubling the capacity of the sawmill. It's a separate
Right.
permit for the sawmill. The other one was for the cogeneration plant.
Right.
So the sawmill is doubling its capacity. The main increase is the 2.5 micron emissions,
Yeah,
which
that's the good stuff that gets in your lungs.
are supposed to be taken care of by the bags or whatever, or the rooms, whatever they call, which is presumably where all the sawdust gets blown to when it's extracted from the sawmill. I'd love to have a tour of the Seneca place to see how
Sure.
the cogeneration plant interacts with the sawmill. And how does the heat get to the kilns? Is all of the obviously what I learned from the application for the sawmill permit was not all of the heat for the kilns comes from the combustion in the cogeneration plant. There was also boilers and other ways of producing heat for the boilers, which was interesting. I had not appreciated that it was not like kind of a simple flow diagram. It's
So it's
somewhat
not
complex.
it's not self-sufficient. It has to have extra energy added to the mix.
Yeah.
And do we know if that's petroleum based?
Yeah, it was natural gas was the main source of some of the heat. And they also have facilities to use fuel oil, but apparently the fuel oil facility has never been plumbed in. When they originally built it, they built with the capacity to use a fuel oil, but they never apparently did, which is good. So we don't have like black smoke coming out or
right.
whatever. We just have stuff we can't see.
Greg.
Just the stuff we can't see. That's right. So do you remember, Stephen, in the application process, if they were going to have any sort of air monitors around the facility so they could actually know what was coming out of it?
I did not see a reference to that, but presumably the monitors of the cogeneration plant are going to be picking up stuff that comes from the sawmill also, because they're co-located. They are all on the same location. I have not seen anything from Beyond Toxics as guidance for commenting on the sawmill application.
Right.
And the deadline for comment on the sawmill application is Monday, this coming Monday. So there's not much time. If I get guidance from Beyond Toxics to mesh in with your email, and we could maybe have a brief comment on the sawmill, but I would hesitate just to go off with without more substance to our comment.
Sure. So are you gonna do you have time to see if you can contact them?
I've contacted them, but I haven't heard back from them.
Ah, okay.
They're probably preparing for their ice cream social, which happens next week.
Oh, good for them. Well,
everybody's stealing our ideas.
Well, hey, they're good ideas. They're welcome to steal them. More people should do it. We used to have a real strong connection with the Coconut Bliss folks.
Yeah.
And as far as I understand, their office is still over here on First. So, who knows?
When they changed
But
their
that's
name, they took coconut out of the name of the
yeah,
business.
I know. That's well, whatever.
It
What
always
make
it always attracted James Manning when we had ice cream socials. James Manning's was Tino ice cream.
well, when it's hot, it's a
Yeah.
thing.
I joked with him about that at a meeting.
Was he okay with that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah. I think
It's important.
he's always happy if anybody remembers him. Now that his wife has passed away, who was his like
Yeah, I heard about that. Sad.
main office manager and
How long
campaign
ago
manager.
was that? Do you
Last
remember?
year, last year.
Yeah,
It was sudden too.
that's tough.
Everybody knew that.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway, yeah, I will.
yeah.
If I get any input that's sufficient to generate a comment on the sawmill, I will put something together. And now that we have a mechanism for getting a man's signature on things, we can maybe grab that. But without getting a bit more substance, I think it would be a bit thin to do a comment letter.
Sure, that's fine. That's perfectly reasonable. I do think it's important though, even with the stuff that we've already commented on, if they're saying that's outside of our jurisdiction or we can't do that. And all we're asking them is to say, well, how's this going to affect people?
Yeah.
If they're not willing to do that, then what are they doing regulating it at all?
Well,
What's the point?
the nature of an agency like this is to protect industry.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they don't tell anybody else that. They're trying to make it as though they're trying to protect you. I know
Yeah.
they're not,
Well,
but
we can take it up with the El Rapa guy when he comes to the October meetings. That
right.
would be helpful.
Yeah,
There may also be legislative changes that are needed to give El Rapa more of the authority to investigate the other things. The tough thing with the Seneca thing, it's biomass, and
right.
biomass has been classified as a carbon neutral energy source by the UN and by all of the climate plans. Really stupid because you can't
Yeah,
grow trees back fast enough to make up for the trees you burn to generate the biomass before the planet melts.
right.
So it's
Yeah,
the time scales are wrong.
yeah,
And that's the problem. They've got all sorts of exemptions for biomass, and
right.
that kind of screws things up. But we're most of the organizations I'm with are pushing back on biomass as much as they can.
Well, certainly they're the formula does not work. That's for sure.
The biomass plants typically are in close proximity to underserved neighborhoods, so
Yes,
they tend to exacerbate climate justice inequities, and
right.
that's true of our plants here. The people living around it. I think the campaign by Beyond Toxics and the city to deal with the climate justice issues of industry in West Eugene is a good one. We should stay close on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. All righty, Doriandra. It's really nice to see you again, even if it's on the computer screen.
Ditto.
I
Hi.
I miss our vaccine clinics. Those were so cool.
Me too.
But there's always more things to do, though.
Yes.
Okay, so how are things wrapping up with all the other stuff that has been done? Is that all wrapped? Is it all done and over with?
Well, there's some real complex things that we're trying to deal with, or that I was trying to deal with, and finally I just put my hand up and asked Alinea and Andrew to jump in. So tomorrow we'll the three of us will meet with OHA to try to finalize some things that never kind of got done in the shuffle. So
Okay.
our overall budget for 2022, and then some of the big expenditure reports, or I don't think that's the actual word. It's a quarterly 5 invoicing. So
Ah, yes.
it's kind of a matter of trying to understand the bookkeeping side of it, which needs some, sorting out. So I'm thinking that if we put our heads together, we can kind of tidy up and give OHA what they need in terms of like closing up the community engagement portion of our grant.
Right.
And then from there, I've got some kind of diving into the P1005, which is the unhoused or the housing part of it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can wrap that up soon. And then, I'm just still trying to navigate through the CDC thing here for the
Sure.
girls. And that's kind of coming along. So it's good. We had a lot of kind of crazy opposition with that.
Ah.
I'm not sure if you guys saw the article about the vandalism.
Yep.
No, I missed that.
Oh, it was real interesting. Yeah, I'll show you here. Yeah, we embarked on our first weekend, which was 3 weeks ago, and the city had power washed the streets and everything was great. And well, 2 days prior to that, I started getting these letters from a woman in our neighborhoods here that just adamantly opposed. And so we experienced Saturday morning rolling in to start everything that the streets had been totally vandalized with the word propaganda. And they had the vandals had used a very tenacious, strange mix of maybe car wax and lard. I'm not really sure. There was rotten eggs and
Oh
sand.
boy.
It was a really big problem. So luckily neighbors came out and Thea and I,
Oh, that's so nice.
yeah, we were running around in circles trying to figure out how to get it out, and we did. And so artists were able to start a couple hours later than planned. But anyway, but then so we got through that, and then EPD was really helpful in watching through the night, kind of keeping an eye on stuff for us, because that seemed like the next vulnerable place, at the halfway
Sure.
mark of, yeah, I put it in the chat for you, the registered guard
Yeah.
article. But then the week after that, a lot of pressure was put on the city, all the way to the mayors and the attorney, and yeah, just really vocal anti-vaxxer person. And she kind of mobilized and did some protesting at our sites this last weekend, but the murals pushed on. So we're yeah, it's honestly, they're just so beautiful. It's hard to even kind of believe. I think, let me see if I can put this one in the chat for you. This is one of my favorites. See if that goes through. That's a little
Is that
sweetie.
Wade Deloves?
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's a
great.
little sweetie pie, small one that's in the it's there in the roundabout at Clark and Adams.
Ah, cool.
And then this one, of course, is just staggering with Brett Pendlebury. Did Dr. Jonas Salk,
Oh,
our
cool.
inventor of the polio vaccine.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then we had Miss Liza Burns. She did this exquisite one of the spike proteins, and
Nice.
so lovely. And then this one we really had to kind of change at the last minute because it said Vax in the bottle, and we did some kind of executive choices to leave some of the more,
Yeah.
triggering words out of it. But this one is one of my favorites too. I loved how Tyler Schmaltz here, he did.
Could you share your screen?
Oh, sure. Sure. I just keep popping them in the chat, but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, that's fine. Let me share the screen. Do you have time for that, Anand? Is that okay?
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, I have so many windows open on my computer.
The images are in the Facebook post too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We won't take time. Let's look at some of those. And
Okay.
but
That's fun.
but yeah, it's going to be really exciting because we did get someone that works at Arcimoto came out and was just
Oh,
totally
nice.
fascinated. So we're getting these beautiful drone shots of all the pieces.
Oh, yeah, I can see how they did that. That's great.
Yeah, those ones are, they're so high up that it's hard to kind of see the detail, but But yeah, I took tons of pictures and put them on Facebook, and then some of them we did a time lapse for, like
Uh-huh.
Brett Pendlebury did a time lapse from up on his studio roof. So yeah, it's just really exciting and
That is so cool.
deeply beautiful. Yeah, I took my mom around to the murals yesterday or the day after we finished the second round, and you know, she trained with Dr. Fauci during the AIDS epidemic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was in this epicenter of learning with him at an interesting time when I guess he was still the CDC director. Anyway, he was still teaching him
Sure.
stuff. And so yeah, she kind of burst into tears when she saw some of them. She was just so like, oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
How
So
long will they last before they fade?
good question. Yeah, with all my research and partnering with the city repair project, it looks like we're anticipating about 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
If it
That's
all
impressive.
goes, yeah, if it all goes well, I mean, you know, with climate change as it is,
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
predicting a less ample window based on paint porosity. And
Sure. Sure.
but it's really neat because part of the pilot program that, you know, we just worked out for this to happen with the city allows the Whitaker, I mean, we could come back in 3 years and apply for a little permit to retouch them or change them or something. So we
Yeah.
have the ability to get in and do more stuff on them if they need repair. So yeah, super great.
Very, very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
really nice. Yep, good stuff. And then yeah, I've got one more artist coming up on the free wall, which is there on the bike path.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That'll be T.S. Pendlebury. I believe that's Brett's brother, and
Oh,
he'll do another vaccine confidence mural there, which will be also
nice.
funded by the CDC. So yeah, we did really good. Out of the whole grant, I got the city to give us 9 street locations, and then
Mhm.
we've had 4 different artists rotating on the free wall. So yeah,
Wow.
we've done great with the CDC, and they love the project. They kind of were like, wow, you guys are really ambitious. Yeah,
That is very cool. Very, very cool.
yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah,
Have we
yeah.
had publicity for them coming in from elsewhere other than Eugene? Any out of town coverage in the press, in the media?
Not yet, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping to kind of do that. I've got a couple weeks to work on the project deliverables to the CD and CDC
Yeah.
in terms of media and stuff. So I'm trying to kind of think tank that. I'm going to do a conversation with the KRVM folks about the community
Mhm.
listening to talk about it next Friday. And then, yeah, we'll just kind of keep pushing out what we can. Because yeah, it's such an important project. I think the CDC will help us a little bit
Yeah.
in how
I
to do
mean,
that.
I'm basically our target is people who live here, but it's nice to toot our horn occasionally when we do great stuff.
Well, not only that, but I mean, the message is really needed for everybody.
Yeah,
So
true.
the other place that immediately leaps to my mind is Oregon Art Beat. I
Mm,
mean, that TV show, you
that's
know,
yeah, great idea. Thank you, Anand. I
sure.
I did put our first round of stuff. Remember our the vaccine confidence signs.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
The favorite one that showed everybody in the Whitaker.
Uh-huh.
Remember that one?
Yeah,
I did put that in the CDC Smithsonian
nice.
repository for United States vaccine confidence artwork. So
Cool.
that is part of the National Archive. But yeah, yeah, Oregon art scene. Right?
Beat.
Beat.
Art.
That's it. Okay. Yeah,
Do,
good stuff.
did we have to get permission from the Grateful Dead to use the dancing bears? Or is that in the public domain? Public
Easier
domain.
to ask for forgiveness than for permission.
Well,
Right.
fair use is the other
Oh yeah,
escape.
There you
Fair
go.
use.
that's
Yeah.
right.
You know, we laughed endlessly about that because some of the bears had pants and some of them did not have pants on. And
Uh-huh.
Well, Winnie the Pooh doesn't wear pants.
That's right.
right, we went around the corner. Like, should they all have pants on or should none of them have pants on? Well, so some do and some don't.
Clothing optional.
They're individual bears.
Yeah, bears do what
That's
they
right.
want.
Okay, getting back to the whole housing thing for just a bit. So This thought came from, you guys probably heard it was a month or so ago, and oh, the guy from Bruns, whose name Marcus,
Marcus.
and I got into it a little bit. He was saying how people, unhoused people were coming in from outside, and that's why we're having so many problems. And I was going like, no, that's not it. I should have been a little calmer about it, and been positive in that, yes, there are some people coming in from outside, but it's not a large part of the population. I actually just asked Cindy if she could come up with any data. I have seen studies from Portland and Seattle. And in Portland, about 70% of the unhoused population is from that area. So about 30% probably is not. And about in Seattle, it's about 80% is from that area, and about 20% is not. And I expect it's probably something fairly similar around here. Yes, sure, we have some people who are from the outside, but for the most part, people who don't have housing are from the area that they're at.
Mhm.
Why? Well, it's obvious, because if they don't have money for housing, they probably don't have money to move around that much either. So that brings up another thing, which is, really trying to change the mindset through language. And a phrase came out a few years ago, and it was in that video I started posting, which is economic refugees. And I think
Yep.
that's really a healthier way to look at it, is that, the vast majority of these people, I keep bringing this up every time they do a study. Yeah, they say, 25% of these people have drug problems that are causing them not to have housing, and 30% have, behavioral issues that they're, and I'm going like, yeah, but that means that 70% of them just can't afford fucking housing.
Mhm.
It's an economic issue. They're economic refugees. That is the most accurate way to frame it.
Yeah.
Some of them have medical issues too, on top of that. But the most important thing is it's economic. And so I'm thinking that if we could just start using that term, or
Mhm.
if somebody comes up with a better one, that's fine. But I think it's important to emphasize the economic aspect of this. And the best one I've seen so far is economic refugee. And I'm going to propose at the board meeting that that's what we start saying. In the same way that at the end of all of our official things, we put, Delinea wanted us to put the number of residences and businesses in the area. Fine, I can do that. But every time we talk about people who are unhoused, we refer to them as economic refugees every single time. Make it kind of part of our policy, right?
Yeah.
But encourage the other neighborhood organizations to do something like that too. Is like, the neighborhood leaders council and all those guys. But we need to change the mindset, because right now people for the most part are just ignoring them because they think, oh, they've just got, they're just emotionally unstable, and that's why they're out there. That's not the issue. It could be for some, but for the most part it's not. So yeah, that's my thought on it, is that the language can make a difference, and maybe this could, I don't know, but if we try to do it as a group, it might have more of an effect than just trying to do it separately.
I really
Anyway,
like
what
that.
do people think?
I think that's a great idea. And as far as the new grant is concerned, Doriander's cleaning up the loose ends on the other things
Yep.
before we can start on the housing thing. Okay.
Yeah. I want to start on this new one in September, once
Right.
I wrapped up the CDC one.
Yep.
But yeah, I love that change of language. I think there's so much power in the vernacular spaces, and just the, recent trend a couple years ago of going from homeless to unhoused
Right.
carried a certain degree of dignity, and really, I think, remediated some of the stigma attached to homeless,
Right.
and so this just seems like a natural transition to even go
Sure.
more sensibly. It kind of reminds me too of when Cheryl at the Mission had that kind of meet and greet with the city to try to see like if we could all get on the same page. And
Right.
her terminology was really interesting too. She had a whiteboard or a PowerPoint, and she was showing how essentially you've got three categories of folks that are experiencing this crisis. And, you know, the hardest category are what she called the non-compliant, you know, meaning that like we have folks that just, they have mental issues that would preclude being able to be inside, or they, you know, they just don't want to be helpful or to be helped. And then she's also, but she pointed out, like in her statistical board, the folks that were just suffering from economic crisis were so
Right.
much huger. Like it was
Yeah.
not huger, but you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
a huge disparity in population. And so you hit the nail on the head, though. That's because of being an economic refugee. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, but it started getting considerably worse when Reagan got into office, because he started taking the federal government out of supporting housing. I mean, and it's gotten worse and worse ever since. So, it, I don't know. I mean, the only way to actually solve the problem is to tax people and build housing. But nobody wants to do that. So,
right.
at the very least, we need to change the focus instead of on it's a mental health issue to it's an economic issue, because we need to deal with it in an economic way. So yeah, when we went from the homeless to people who are unhoused,
Mhm.
and the emphasis was on people,
Right.
that was a huge change. But then, people who are economic refugees, so we get the people part in there, but
Yes.
get the economic part in there. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the people has to come first. But why are these people in this condition? Because they're economic refugees. So, and that's really about all I've got for us today. We've got a few minutes left. Do we know if there's going to be a board meeting today? Because I haven't heard anything about it.
They're canceled as far as I know.
Okay. The other thing that's got me a little concerned is this whole Discord thing has not worked out well for me at all. I can't remember how to pronounce her name, but she sent me a couple of invitations, and every time I tried them, they told me I couldn't get on. So I do actually have a Discord name/number. I was able to at least get that part. But what I wasn't able to do was get onto the Whitaker Community Council's Discord page. So, I don't know exactly what's going on with that.
I think those invitations expire, so you've got to kind of be ready for it.
Yeah, I think that was what it was, and I was trying to contact her and say, because she was trying to contact me through email when I was working, which doesn't work too well because
Yeah,
I'm working. But
finding a time when you're at your computer and she's available to send you the invite.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was trying to tell her if she could text message me instead, that'll get right to me, but email generally does not.
I think it's called Discord groups, I think is the term. I'm not sure, but
I wouldn't be at all surprised.
yeah.
I tried to see if I could just look them up on the page, but I wasn't able to get through to it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's a YouTube video on how to do it or something.
Well, I wasn't included in that, so I wish I could help, but I don't know.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll sooner or later I'll figure it out. It's just a matter of time.
I mean, are board members using it, do you think?
They're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are, but that's why I'm concerned is like there could be stuff going on out there, and I have no idea if that's how they're communicating, and I'm not on it, then I don't know what's happening. So
yeah,
it's a little concerning.
You're our lifeline to the board.
I'll do my very best.
The lifelines come unhitched.
Yeah, that's right. Ah, floating in space. Well, we are floating in space, but that's beside the point.
I'm gonna just text Delaney and make sure that it's not tonight, because that was what I remembered, was that she wanted to take August and September off.
I thought that was just for the general membership meetings.
I thought it was general, yeah.
I didn't think it was for the board meetings too, but I could be wrong.
Let's see, I'll ask her.
Okay.
We're meeting tonight. Okay, they are. Same day. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I thought I remember seeing that somewhere, but you're right. Maybe it was just the general.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. No response. Okay. I think she's working tonight, isn't it? What is it today? Wednesday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
meetings are always Wednesday.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't have it on my calendar. Like I've had every meeting in my Google
Sure.
Calendar. So I thought that since it wasn't there, maybe she canceled it from her end, or I'm not sure.
I have no idea. Well, I got nothing else to say for tonight. I'm gonna take all the stuff we talked about and digest it. And we've got some really interesting ideas. That whole air conditioners thing, that's a fairly important medical issue.
Mm.
So I'm gonna look into that some more too. So yeah, anything that you find out, I'll share with you and you share with me, and we'll see
Great.
what we can get it done. Because
Yep.
yeah, it's not gonna get cooler anytime real soon.
No.
Doriander, would you text me if you discover there is a board meeting this evening? Because I would like to lurk as usual.
Sure.
Sadly,
What is what? I don't think I have your phone number, Dara. Would you tell me real quick?
707.
Mhm.
Sorry, 707. Yeah, 494 5769.
Okay.
Indicates I'm an economic refugee from Northern California.
I'm a climate refugee from Southern California many years ago.
Yeah.
So
I explained my move from Northern California to Eugene in climate migration terms when I came up here.
yeah,
And like so many plants and animals, I'm moving north.
that's exactly what I did too. I'm from here, but then moved away and finally realized I needed to come home. And I'm glad I did. So, okay. So, 707-494-5769.
That's it. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And
Perfect.
feel free to share that with anybody that needs it.
Thank
Cool.
you. And yeah, I'll text you both if she pops in here, but I have just a strong feeling it's not.
That's fine. I've had a long day at work. I'm perfectly happy to not do more meetings.
Yeah. Although this one was great. It was so good to see you both and learn about some
Aw,
more stuff
thank you.
So yeah,
Yeah,
good.
there's always something going on, even if it just looks small, but there's always something.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. I'm
All
going. I'm gonna
right.
eat dinner.
Gil,
Thank you both.
all right. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Right.